If you're in the market for a travel trailer and you look at the Jayco Jay Flight models and you see the Baja Edition and you're not sure if that's for you, then this video will kind of help you make that decision. This is going to be a quick video going over our experiences with the package, and I'll give you a recommendation on whether or not you should buy it and kind of like what the different features are and what the implications of those are. I guess the long, or just to cut this down short, if you're on the fence about the package and you don't really know if you need it, you probably should skip it if you have the option and save the money. So I'll go into the pros and cons. There's a handful of pros here. You get a larger propane tank, you get a larger freshwater tank, you have an enclosed underbelly on the trailer, so that pretty much seals up the bottom. It gives you better insulation and prevents like rocks and things from hitting the bottom of your trailer and damaging like possibly the plumbing and other things that are exposed under there. And you also get a lot more ground clearance. So those are the pros. The propane tank and the larger freshwater tank, those are pretty much just pros all around. You can't really twist those in any way where those might be a negative. You can always use more propane tank or more propane when you're traveling, especially if you're boondocking, and having a larger freshwater tank is always nice. So those ones I'll give it. This package, those are nice positives, and they don't take away from the RV at all. The two things I think are potentially also cons are the ground clearance and the enclosed underbelly. So I'll go into that first. I'll go into the ground clearance first. So the ground clearance, that sounds nice on paper, but in reality, you're not going to be really off-roading with your trailer. If you know you're going to be off-roading and going really rough places, then it could be useful. I think it's more useful for people that kind of have weird driveways or have issues with clearance getting in and out of like parking spots and things like that. So we actually sold the trailer, and the person we sold it to was specifically looking for the Baja Package because their driveway was very steep and it had pretty high approach and departure angles. So it was like they had to go in a steep flat area in the driveway, and then it was kind of like a quick angle down to flat. And they needed that extra clearance to clear the that change without scraping the trailer. So for them, I think it made perfect sense. I think if you're really going to be going off-roading a lot and driving on stuff that's really rough, you don't really need a whole lot of clearance, and especially with these cheaper trailers, they're not built super strong. Well, no trailer is built super strong because they're meant to be light and they're also meant to be cheap. So taking them off-road can really kind of shake them up and shake things loose. So I mean, I wouldn't advise taking it really rough anyways, but if you think you're going to be doing that, then maybe the ground clearance is helpful there. But the con to this ground clearance is it raises the RV up, which makes it more prone to swaying due to wind. It also hurts your MPG. It causes the frontal area of your trailer to be exposed more to wind when you're driving. Like I said, it causes more drag and will hurt your gas mileage. So if you really don't think you're going off-roading with your trailer, then the Baja Edition, the extra ground clearance, is really just going to cost you more in gas and make it harder to tow your trailer just due to the handling. So that's the first pro that actually can end up being a con if you don't know what you're buying. The second was the enclosed underbelly. This is great if you're camping when it's like below freezing and you're worried about your plumbing freezing, or if you're worried about just things hitting your trailer. It might have like a kind of really small effect on drag, improving your MPG a little bit, but I think it's going to be such a small amount that it's not really going to be noticeable. But the con to having this enclosed underbelly is, like I said earlier, these trailers are built kind of cheap. They're built quickly as well, and you're going to be doing a lot of maintenance on your trailer as you own it over several years. And what that extra kind of cover does on the bottom is it just makes it harder to work on the trailer. We had one issue where it's like that we got fixed under warranty, but we did have like a little leak under the trailer, and we had no way to tell where it was coming from because it was just leaking from the edges of this covering on the bottom of the trailer. And if that covering wasn't there, we could easily spotted where the leak was coming from and fixed it. With the cover, you have to remove it. It's glued and kind of nailed in places where it's not easily put back when you pull it off, which makes it just more difficult to work with. It's also not the highest quality thing. It's pretty much just corrugated plastic, either glued or kind of like stapled or nailed in place, and they seal parts of it with the spray foam that you could buy like in cans. So if you really feel like you might need this, it's something you could probably do for yourself with at most a couple $100 in material. You could buy some corrugated plastic and glue this thing up under your trailer yourself, and have probably even better quality than what they're doing in the factory. Because if you actually crawl under these and you look at them, you can tell they do it super quick, especially on the cheaper Jaycos, and it just is kind of sloppy. So I really don't think that enclosed underbelly is a big pro unless you're going places where it's like really freezing and you're really trying to keep your trailer as insulated as possible. So those are the two things I think were kind of, they can be seen as pros and cons depending on what your use case is. We don't camp when it's freezing just because the trailer usually gets winterized in the winter, and we don't want to de-winterize it when we're using it during the winter. So that extra insulation didn't add a whole lot. It might save you a little bit on propane when you're running the furnace, but like I said, I would prefer to have it off just so it's easier to work on the trailer and I can quickly see what's wrong or if there's anything going on under there. So yeah, that kind of covers the situation as far as the Baja package. It's not a huge upgrade depending on which trailers you'll get. The biggest thing I think is probably the ground clearance, because they flip the axle. But you can also probably flip the axle on your trailer if you really want that extra ground clearance. So if you're on the fence, I suggest you save the money, and if you have the choice, obviously, because sometimes whatever's on the lot is what you get. But if you have the choice, maybe skip the Baja package if you're on the fence about that. So I hope this was a nice little short video. I just want to give an overview of that Baja package and why it might not just be an upgrade for everybody. So if you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment. I appreciate the likes and the subscribes. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I'll see everybody later.